Yeah, bring us in, bro.
All right, let's run with it. Ladies and gentlemen, it is week 4, and we're back for some more football talk with the beautiful, the young, the always spry Wil Masisak. I'm Jude Allume.
I thought you were talking about yourself.
No, I'm talking about you, baby. And this is old school, new school. Sometimes I think I'm old school, but he's the old school portion. I'm the new school portion, and we are going to give you some week 3 recap and some week 4 previews. Will, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm good. I'm growing a mustache. Yeah, I'm good, man. It's like, I don't know. I have this weird theory. Fall is my favorite season. So like within the last week, the weather changed. It became fall. It's like amazing that it coincided with the actual calendar. But I have this theory that whenever your birthday is, whatever time of year your birthday is, as a kid, you gets imprinted as like, this is my favorite season because your birthday is like such a big deal when you're 9, you know? So I think that's what it is. My birthday is coming up. I'm going to be even older schooler.
Yeah. What are we going for? 30, 31?
About to be 69, believe it or not.
69? No way.
I look good for 69, don't I? That's how you buy compliments. When you get older, that's a great way to buy a compliment. You're like, tell everybody you're 10 years older than you are. And then they're always like, wow, damn, you look good. Yeah.
You look good for 69. Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and jump into it. How about that? Let's go with what would you say is the best game of the week? I put my money on San Fran Green Bay.
Yeah, San Fran Green Bay was pretty good. It was early on it looked like more sort of uncertainty and struggles for Green Bay, and which is something that has happened to them at least the first week of the season, and this one. But it's like in the back of your mind, Jimmy Garoppolo is the quarterback for the other team. So unless their defense really shuts down the Packers, it's going to end badly for them. But to me, the real thing in the game, aside from Aaron Rodgers making a couple of brilliant throws, the real thing in the game is if you can't figure out how to stop Davante Adams when the ball is going to him, you're not going to win very many games. So this is an issue that teams got to figure out. They figured it out a little bit with the Chiefs and Tyreek Hill. We can get back to that in a minute, But man, I don't know. What do you think? I mean, Davante Adams right now, paired with Aaron Rodgers, I think is the best combination in the league, better than even Brady and Gronkowski.
Yeah, it's like peanut butter and jelly, man. Like these guys just know each other so well. Even in week 1, where Rodgers struggled a little bit, you can see that he could still, at the very least, turn to Davante Adams whenever he needs to make a completion, and that's still ringing true throughout the season. I mean, this is like 2 or 3 years now where it's just like, you need to game plan for these guys. You can't necessarily stop Davante. You can only hope to contain him because at the end of the day, Aaron Rodgers just knows him. He knows his route patterns, his concepts, and he just knows where he's going to be, and he knows where to put the ball for Davante Adams to have success. And he's just going to target him a ton of times per game, like 10, 11, 12 times, if not more, every game. Aaron Rodgers is going to look for Davante Adams, and it makes sense because he makes the plays that he needs to make. I'm going to say though, for this game, yes, Davante was good, but I'm going to give. You don't need to, but I'm going to give a lot of credit to Aaron Rodgers because you're San Francisco. You were down for much of the game, and now all of a sudden you get down inside of 2 minutes. Jimmy Garoppolo, who you're saying you need him to give you more, but he puts you in a position to win. Your team is now up. A lot of people were having some issues with Kyle Juszczyk because they're saying you should take the knee, not score the touchdown,
100%,
kill the clock, but he scores the touchdown. I understand that, but at the end of the day, as an NFL defense, especially the San Francisco defense, that so many people, including myself, believe to be one of the best in the league, you got to be able to stop them. You can't let them complete 2 passes like that, especially in the middle of the field. Not even using timeouts. You've got to be able as a defense to say they're going to go to Davante. We need to stop him. But Aaron Rodgers, he's going to make those throws. Even if you take away Davante, he's going to find somebody else. And he did that. 2 great throws, puts them in position. Mason Crosby as reliable as any kicker in the NFL. And he just rips the heart out of the 49ers and the Packers come away with the win. It was a great game.
Yeah, that's a classic win. I mean, I'm thinking about it's funny, like we make fun of certain teams. I follow the Steelers. Mike Tomlin is famous for he would rather the other team not score in the last 2 minutes of either half than his own team score. So in other words, he puts the priority on don't let the other team score in the last 2 minutes, and then if we get points, we can win this game. And that was a situation right there where San Francisco has to know they can, even taking one more play to score might have been the difference in that game. And they also have, like you talk about Jimmy Garoppolo, put him in position. Yeah, he played well. But if you don't have their other quarterback, I'm sorry, from North Dakota State. Trey
Lance.
Yeah, they don't have Trey Lance. They're not even in a position to win that game. Trey Lance making a couple of plays in goal line that was huge for them, right? So I don't know. I just feel like if Kyle Juszczyk takes a knee at the half-yard line and you bring Trey Lance in the game, San Francisco is not going to not score, and they're not going to leave as much time for Aaron Rodgers. It's just one of those things. The way the NFL works now, San Francisco had pretty good coverage on that throw to Devontae Adams, too. I mean, they got Fred Warner, who's arguably the best coverage linebacker in the NFL, if not top 3 at the worst. And he takes his drop. He's totally in position right in front of Devontae Adams, and the ball goes an inch over his hand. It's like the way the rules are, there's always going to be space, and there's a few drawbacks to the passing game, especially late in the game where teams can't let you go over the top. So yeah, if it's me, I'm taking the knee. I know that's controversial. It's like, hey, you got a chance to score, you're behind, you got to take the points. But I felt like that was it would so unlikely for San Francisco to win with Juszczyk scoring when he did. Yeah.
I mean, he said it himself too. I feel like he made a good point as far as why he's not taking in the NFL, and we've seen it so many times. You're not guaranteed points just because you're inside the 5, inside the 1. It's not guaranteed. If you got a chance to score, sometimes you do have to take it. But again, you don't want to give Aaron Rodgers so much time.
Yeah, let me put it to you this way: which is more likely to happen? You have the ball at the half-yard line, and with 4 plays to score, because I think that was a first down. 4 plays to score from the half-yard line, or Aaron Rodgers drives his team in position to get a field goal with 37 seconds. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like the more likely one is that you're going to score from the half-yard line.
I don't know. Pick your poison. Aaron Rodgers, 37 seconds to score. Not a touchdown, but get his team in position for a field goal. I mean, I can't, like, it doesn't support my argument, but it's like.
Yeah, you can't, there's no good 100% solid choice. You have to make a choice, but, whatever it is. Yeah. I didn't, for what it's worth, I don't think Green Bay let him score. So that would have been, like if you're Green Bay, I mean, that was a better. There's a better question. If you're Green Bay's defense, you have to let them. Once he gets to the 1 yard line, you got to let him in the end zone. That part is for sure, 100%. We can agree on that. Let it.
I mean, I don't know, because they weren't like, it wasn't like, oh, they could settle for a field goal, so they had to score a touchdown. So you're saying, it's almost like you're saying, we as a defense cannot stop you, so we're going to let you score. Are you telling yourself that and saying we're just going to rely on our offense to score?
Stopping a team from scoring a touchdown from their own 20 or 25-yard line is something you can count on your defense. Stopping them from scoring a field goal with that much time in the NFL in a 2-minute drill, that's
not
hard.
A field goal. They needed a touchdown. They were down.
No, I meant Aaron Rodgers. I'm saying it's like it's no shame to your defense to say, hey, you're probably going to give up a field goal to this guy, given as many plays as he's going to have and as good a quarterback as he is. So, if they get it down inside the 1, let them score, or pull them across. I don't know. So that's an NFL debate for another day.
The world may never know.
The Chargers Chiefs, I mean, was interesting. Like it's funny. Like, I used to have a saying about other things in life, but it's true for almost anything. Whatever your weak links are, whatever your flaws are as a group, as a team, as a person, it's likely that at some point they will come to bite you. And that's, I think, the thing about this Kansas City game. You just can't go living by the sword, taking the sort of the risks they had and not doing something different on defense with the defensive problems that they had, and expect that you're always going to be able to get bailed out by your quarterback. How did you see this game? Do you give more credit to the to the Chargers for winning, or for the Chiefs for, letting it slip away?
I'm going to give more credit to the Chargers because they were in a position to, fumble the game away late in the game. You have your young quarterback. It's kind of like his welcome to the NFL moment, even though I'm a fan of Herbert and he's been doing his thing for some time now. But you have a chance to choke, and they didn't choke. They rose to the occasion. They had a chance to drive the ball. He finds Mike Williams for a touchdown, and, they put the pressure on the Chiefs. And now here you have your defense, very good defense, unfortunately, always has injuries the last couple of seasons. Right now, at least this season, you appear to be healthy. You have your top pieces. You've got your Joey Bosa. You got your Derwin James. You've got your pieces. You've got your guys, and you show we're here to play ball. And they stop Patrick Mahomes as he's trying to lead. You can hear it in the broadcast. I'm pretty sure a lot of people at home, myself included, we're thinking, you know what? It's Patrick Mahomes. They're going to find a way. They're going to march the ball downfield. At the very least, they're going to get this. They're going to get this field goal, and they're going to be able to tie the game, and we'll get some overtime.
Yeah.
Well, no, they needed a touchdown, actually.
Yeah.
So, but still, nobody is thinking there's no way that this is going to happen. You're just thinking this is going to happen. And they showed up. They rose to the occasion on both sides of the ball. Offensively, they scored the points they needed to score. Defensively, they stopped one of the best offenses in the league, the best quarterback in the league. And they said, we're a team that you need to consider. Nobody's really considering us. Everybody's just giving this division to the Chiefs. We're here to play football as well. I think this was a bigger game for the Chargers because it showed that they're legitimate contenders. But that being said, it does absolutely have a number of question marks that you now have to ask for the Chiefs. I mean, all of a sudden you're last in the division at 1-2. This is like the first time in the longest of times. I think the first time since he's been the head coach of the Chiefs that the Chiefs are under 500. Granted, it's only 1-2 very early in the season, but still, they've never been in this position before. They've never been at the bottom of the division looking up to everybody else. So, like, is there an alarm going off for the Chiefs right now?
I'd say a little bit. Also, not that it appears not to be anything serious with Andy Reid, but you had Andy Reid in the hospital. He lost 2 games in a row, and you got some issues that are not the easiest to fix. And also, I sort of almost every quarterback, even the greatest ones, there's a period of adjustment where the league starts adjusting to what you do really well. And they may not be able to stop it totally, but they're looking to force you to take your game in a different place. And the truly great ones adjust back, and they go back and forth over the course of their careers, right? But all of them have had, a second, third year slump where they didn't, even if they played well, they didn't have the same level of success that they always are used to having. But maybe they may even be able to make an adjustment mid-season. But I thought that the previous week was the week that they really, like, you can see it's a big game for the Chargers and a big step forward for Justin Herbert to close out a close game against a great team. But I think the previous week where they gave away, Patrick Mahomes threw across his body late to the middle of the field, the thing that he's famous for, that's become like, a signature almost of, wow, I can't believe he got away with that and made a great play out of it. He got burned by that. They fumbled because they're trying to run the ball instead of keeping it in his hands. So, like, I felt the previous week was the week where they really showed, kind of like the flaws that we're talking about. But you just can't make late mistakes against good teams. And I think that's the bottom line with the Chiefs. They'll be fine rolling out what they're used to rolling out against teams that aren't as good. But yeah, it's a concern for them playing good teams. They got to do better.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the things I thought were the things they needed to adjust or, take a look into as far as like the running game. They needed to step up as far as defending on the run. And then they needed to step up as far as having a better running game to support Patrick Mahomes. And they did both of those things. And yet somehow they still come away with the loss in this one. Like, this is the first time in a while Edwards-Helaire has rushed for 100 yards. They held the Chargers to under 100 yards rushing, and yet somehow even addressing these things that killed them last week, they still come away with a loss here. So it's like it looks like teams are definitely saying, we're not going to let you just throw it deep to Tyreek Hill. we need you to
run the ball. I mean, I think defenses are thrilled that the Chiefs want to run the ball. I mean, really, it's like it's really hard in a modern NFL to keep up pace, scoring points and winning games, running the football, even when you're pretty good at it. I mean, of course, even Baltimore, if you get against a team that, and they're the opposite situation, I think, where they try to hem Lamar Jackson in and keep him from running. Mm-hmm. But other than the Ravens, who do you really want running the football as a way of really scoring points and winning games? Like not too many, especially when you got Patrick Mahomes. It's like, the run is like a off-speed pitch, but the guy's got a great fastball and a great slider. Why do you want to teach him to throw knuckleball? Like, in a key situation, you don't want to be throwing a changeup. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Because at the end of the day, what the Chiefs were doing for much of the last 2 seasons, they're going to put up a ton of points early, get you behind, and then you're getting out of your game script because now you're trying to catch up and put up points on the board. This game, Chargers go up on them early. I think it was 14-zip.
It was.
And now all of a sudden they're saying we need to run the ball, but we kind of need to get away from it. But they kind of stuck to it. But it is a detriment because they're sticking to the run game, and now they're not putting up points as fast as they're used to putting up points. The next thing you know, here they are in this position where they're losing, and it's just not the Chiefs that we're accustomed to, man.
I mean, they're looking up at the division, and now the Raiders and Chargers playing in a game that, a month ago nobody thought was going to be a really important game for the AFC West, but here we are. So moving, that's my segue to move on to talking a little bit about this week's games. What do you make of the Chargers-Raiders matchup right now? Do you really fully believe in the Raiders?
You know what? It's like they win that first game, and it's like, whatever. They win the second game, and it's still like, whatever. They win in this third game, and it's like they're still just finding ways to win. They're still showing up offensively and defensively. Derek Carr making himself an early season MVP of a legitimate early season MVP candidate. And it's like, how much longer am I going to say, it's the Raiders, I don't believe in them, before we say these guys are doing things wonderfully offensively and defensively and winning games, finding ways to win games, even though they're close games. Good teams, when it's a close game, regardless of who the opponent is, they find ways to win these games. And that's exactly what the Raiders are doing. So how long can you really say, you know what, it's the Raiders, I'm not buying into the hype? I mean, you have one of your best weapons in Josh Jacobs, who's injured. So I'm thinking, all right, so this is their downfall. Instead, they bring in Peyton Barber. They use the two-man combo with Barber and Kenyon Drake. And they're like, all right, we don't need him. We'll just find ways to get it done. They don't have a number one receiver. And at some time, in some kind of way, it works for them because now they're just spreading the ball. 1 week, Darren Waller is going to go off. Another week, Henry Ruggs is going to go off. And then you have Brian Edwards, a younger guy. He's going to make some catches. Yeah. So it's just like you don't really have anyone.
6 targets a game for Brian Edwards.
3 weeks in a row. Yeah.
6 targets in a game.
And then even Hunter Renfrow, he seems to be the guy that maybe is most consistent. Like he's playing in the slot, and you're not really thinking about him because the other names sound a little bit more appealing, more like, okay, we need to stop this guy. But basically, I just say it to just show you that, they just have all these guys that they can trust, and it just makes it hard for you to stop because you take away one, they're going to spread the ball to the other. And then defensively, the pass rush is good. That secondary is good. I mean, they invested a lot of picks in that secondary, and it looks like it's coming to fruition all of a sudden because they're hard hitting. They all play the ball. They cover a lot of field, and it just make it hard for you to execute what you want to do on offense. I'm going to start believing in these guys. Like, I don't know if I'm going to say these guys will win a division or anything like that. This is a team that can definitely make it to the playoffs, get a wild card. And you know what? Right now, if they keep playing the way that they're playing and, if they can get a win against the Chiefs, this is a team that possibly can win the division. Like, who knows? I
mean, I think they've at least elevated themselves, at least at this point in the season, to being a very tough out. Like, if you're going to beat the Raiders, you got to do some things right, and you can't make a lot of mistakes and so on. You mentioned this, the variety of weapons they have on offense and how well Derek Carr is playing, but they got a few defensive linemen who are really, creating havoc up front, as we like to say. Nice cliche, and getting to the quarterback, and then a couple of they got a couple of really good man-to-man corners, which is something that I think you need to pair with good pass rush in the NFL. I don't know. It's something I'm interested to see in this game. This is Monday night, right? It's either Monday night or Sunday night or something.
Yeah, Monday night.
I'm interested to see, are the Chargers finally good enough that they'll have a home field advantage with fans in the stands? They pretty much have never had that in Los Angeles, and they're playing against the Raiders, who, when I lived in Los Angeles, and maybe you can vouch for this as well, having lived there, I think the Raiders were the most popular team in LA. So there are more Raiders fans in LA than any other NFL team. So I'm curious to see what this situation will be like. I kind of get the feeling it'll be sort of a Raiders home game, and as hot as they are, I might like them in this game. I definitely like them to cover 3.5 points, because I feel like best case scenario, this is a close game, maybe a field goal game.
A little line talk going on right here. I like that.
Woo!
But this is actually shaping up to be a good game. I mean, here we have the Chargers on the other side. They're looking every bit as well as a viable team. So now it's like, here we have the Raiders. They're playing tough games. I feel like the Ravens might be the best team they've played. I don't know if I would say the Chargers are a better team than the Ravens, but this is kind of like another measuring stick for them. And it's just like they play in these tough games. They've won 2 games in overtime. We haven't seen what the Chargers have. Well, actually, we have. We've seen the Chargers win in clutch situations. They haven't done it in overtime, but they won a close one late in the game against the Chiefs last week. So I just hope it's going to be that kind of game. Both of these teams playing phenomenally. I'm just here to see some great football, see if, Derek Carr is really an MVP candidate, see if Justin Herbert can continue and make himself, one of the newer faces of the league. Like, I'm really looking forward to this game. And that's not something that I thought I'd be saying when the season started. Oakland versus the Chargers, like a must-see TV.
You mean Las Vegas?
Sorry, Vegas.
Oakland. I don't know. I mentioned earlier what curious to see what the fan situation will look like in Los Angeles for the Raiders and Chargers. But how about the fan situation?
We lived at the same time in LA, and that was
that's where we met, my friend.
Right? Yeah.
Well, you're losing your mind in your old age.
But that was kind of when the Chargers and the Rams were moving to LA. So for me, I didn't really get to see the Raiders component of it. Like, I saw a couple Raiders jerseys and things like that. But I feel like the fandom of, these two teams moving to the city, I saw more of them. But thinking back, I do remember, especially with the Raiders having been an LA team before going to Oakland, there's definitely a huge fan base there. So that is something to watch too. I feel like it might be more even, which is still beneficial to the Raiders.
Chargers have nobody. The Rams have a few, bandwagon jumpers and a few old school people from the old days, but the Chargers had nobody. When they played before before this season, they played at their little shoebox. The Raiders fans owned the stadium. The Steelers fans, the teams from basically every other team owned that stadium. But what I was going to say was,
but that's when they weren't a good team. Once you're a good team, all of a sudden your fans start popping up all over the place.
You get a few bandwagoners for sure. But the thing that the fan reaction I was about to get to though is Tom Brady making his return to New England to face the Patriots. Yeah. First of all, tickets are like something ridiculous. Like, I think like the cheapest tickets you can find right now are like $10,000, something crazy. So I don't think anybody's selling their tickets for that game. What do you think will happen when?
Well, let me ask you first. Tom Brady comes out. Here's a guy that's won your team 6 championships. Are they going to boo the man, or are they going to cheer the man on?
No, I think the fan base is solidly in behind Brady, and they're angry that the organization let him get away. I think that's really where the fans are. I'm sure there are a few that will be like, you traitor, you left us, but not too many. There's not too many New England Patriots fans who have a grudge against Tom Brady. Sorry, that's not happening. Right. But I feel like it'll be interesting. I'm not even sure that it's not only Brady, it's Gronkowski too. Like, I'm not sure if Brady throws a touchdown, Patrick Gronkowski, you think people are going to boo?
I mean,
I don't see that happening.
The Boston sports fans are some of the biggest fans ever. I've seen them boo.
Worst? Is that the word you were looking for? Most obnoxious?
I've seen them boo other legends who've come back and won championships. I've seen them boo them. So it's like I'm not convinced that it's just going to be like, yeah, welcome back, Brady. You did all this for us.
They're not booing Larry Bird. They're not booing Tom Brady. They're not booing Rob Gronkowski. They're probably not even booing Belichick when he comes back. Even if they view him as being sort of the villain here. So
they're never going to boo Belichick. I mean, he's still there, still trying to win them championships. Not going to happen. Unfortunately, as far as the game is concerned, I feel like that's the biggest storyline. As far as Brady coming back, I think this is going to be a bad game for them. I think honestly too, Brady might have just a little bit more incentive to put up as many points as possible, just to say it was not the Patriot way.
Yeah, with his nutritionist by his side on the sideline, like, hey,
I was very much responsible for these championships, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to stick it to you, old man, and old man being Bill Belichick, and he's going to try and run that score up. I think he has a coach that's going to let him do that, too.
Oh, my God, yes.
I mean, and then defensively, you have one of the best defenses in a rookie quarterback. That's always a combination for disaster.
No, if they go for the post-game handshake between Arians and Belichick after the Bucks run up the score, all Arians has to say to Belichick is, I'm sorry, man. I couldn't stop. It's like, he wouldn't listen to me. I'm sorry.
I had to let him coach for this game.
It's just like, man, him. Nothing I could do.
I feel like the post game presser with Belichick is going to be more interesting. Well, maybe not interesting, but I'm more looking forward to watching it.
More uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of mumbling questions.
Be like, well, he's a great player. That's who he is. Yeah,
we're on to week 5. We're on to week 5. We're on to week
5. Exactly, man. I thought Mac played well. Yeah. Any last ones you want to touch on before we wrap it up today? Must be something we didn't cover that you wanted to talk about.
I don't know. I kind of want to talk Carolina, Dallas, because those are two other teams that nobody.
We don't talk about a lot.
Nobody was really thinking. Yeah, nobody was really thinking. These guys are contenders, and yet both of them early in the season kind of proving that they'll be contenders. Dallas, I always had offensively as like a team that's going to compete with everyone just because they'll be able to score points, but defensively they've already started seeing some injuries, and yet after that first week in which it looked like it was going to be the same defense from last year, they've had some injuries, and yet they're still adjusting and playing better defense and not letting everyone just score points against them. So I really love the adjustments they've made. And again, offensively, they're going to do what they do. Zeke finally came out and looked like the Zeke from 3 and 4 years ago. Like a lot of people were saying, give Tony Pollard the ball a little bit more because he seems to be doing more with it. And I guess Zeke hears it a little bit and he puts his best game together in a little bit of a while. And then you have Carolina. Again, I mean, you could just roll back the footage from when we were talking about them before the first games of the season. And I gave them nothing. Offensively, defensively, I really stuck it to Sam Darnold. I mean, those Jets years, it's just hard for me to get them out my head.
Yeah.
But every week I'm just going to say it until, he reverts back to his old self. I was wrong. This is a guy who's really playing ball. I guess this is what happens when, you have a team that's, not completely run to the ground, not completely inept, that gives you an actual line, that gives you actual receivers and a running back and pieces around you that, will support you.
Yeah.
So, I'm not completely saying it was Sam Darnold's fault, but it was the Jets' fault just as much. And right now we have two teams, Dallas at 2-1, Panthers at 3-0. Did not see that coming at all. And I just feel like this is maybe an underrated game and kind of a measuring stick for both of these teams as well.
Well, first of all, two things you didn't mention. Dak Prescott playing at an extremely high level right now. Cheers, chapeau to him. Did you see the Carolina game last week? When McCaffrey got hurt, they look like a different team. So you can't underestimate how much having that weapon means to you as a quarterback, because there's a guy you can hand him the ball and he can make something with it. It's like Alvin Kamara. You can hand him the ball, can make something with it, or you can sort of dump it down to him and he makes a big play for you, which makes every quarterback look a lot better, right? So my concern, I think Carolina's coaching, their coaches, they got a really nice staff there, and I have a lot of admiration for Matt Rule. So maybe they'll figure out a way to adjust out of that, but I think it might take them a little while to learn to get to life beyond McCaffrey and facing sort of a hot team with a hot offense, and you have to try to win the game with your defense. That's a tough ask, I think. So
I think they just do what they did in the second half, because they only scored 7 points first half, and then second half when McCaffrey's out, that's when they put up the points and really put the game out of reach for the Houston Texans. I think it kind of opened up the offense a little bit more, because when you do have a weapon like a Christian McCaffrey, one of the things that you're going to get trapped in is we got to get him touches. It's not a bad thing, because he can make special things happen. But at the same time, it's like, you know what, I might want to go with a different look, a different concept, a different theory, but I'm going to force myself to give him the ball because that's our bread and butter. But now it's kind of like, you know what, we can't just rely on the run. We have two great receivers. Let's get them the ball as well. We have Chuba Hubbard. We drafted him pretty high. Let's see what he can do in a lead back position.
I like you try to talk yourself into it. I just mean there's a big difference between your defense playing a rookie quarterback on the road. I think it was last week, a rookie quarterback, and facing one of the hottest quarterbacks in the league. I think that's the difference in this game. That second half that Carolina had last week was mostly because the opposing team's offense sort of collapsed. Wasn't really.
I don't know. Davis Mills played a way better game than I ever would have anticipated.
I thought
as a matter of fact, he had the highest passer rating out of all the rookie quarterbacks last week. So I think he played really well.
I'm not knocking him, but there's a difference between what Dallas.
There's a difference. Yeah, he's no Dak Prescott. He's no Dak Prescott.
Yeah, not just the quarterback, but overall their team. There's a lot more to work with in Dallas for all their flaws that they may have. I kind of dig that. It's interesting. It's like I always say every year for 30 years now, let's take a look at the league after 4 weeks. And I think we'll have a pretty good idea to read on everybody. It's very rare to go 4 weeks in the NFL and be fooled completely about a team. So I think it's just there's enough variety in 3 NFL games against anybody. So, and also, you can see the teams that are consistent and the teams that are capable of beating anybody or losing to anybody. And then you see the teams that can't really, their win was a fluke. So let's get back next week and we'll do a re-evaluation of who we think the top 5 and bottom 5 are, and we'll see how different they were from where we started. Yeah.
Any last words for you?
I think that was it.
That was it for you?
Well, I'll give you a freebie. I'm a Steelers fan. I fully expect that we'll be holding a wake from 4 to 7:30 on Sunday. But every time in the probably at least the last 10 years, every time that I and everyone has been like, there's no chance they're winning this game. Those are the games they win. They're the most impossible team to follow. Yeah. It's like, this is a team against a great quarterback, on the road. Your team looks absolutely listless. And who knows? TJ Watt comes back healthy. They play defensively like they did in Buffalo, and they do just enough to win on offense. It's like, it's not inconceivable. It's the NFL. It's a week-to-week league. So as much as I think they're going to
no running game for you guys, though. That's
as much as I think they're going to get destroyed. You just never know. They didn't have any running game in Buffalo, man. You know what I mean? So
I don't like Ben Roethlisberger throwing 58 times as much as he's done for you as a quarterback. Yeah. At this stage in his career, I don't like him throwing the ball 58 times.
Well, I don't like him throwing it 58 times if 50 of them are within 3 yards of the line of scrimmage. That's the bigger problem. Yeah. It's like at some point the defenses are just so compacted in there that it's like trying to throw red zone plays on every play. Yeah. It's not going to make anybody look handy.
I think it was like the drive before last where it was like 3rd and 12 and he like dunked it down to Najee Harris.
Fourth and 10 or 4th and 9 or 4th and 10, I think. Yeah. It's
like, what are you thinking in that situation? Like, why?
Yeah.
even another stat too that I found a little bit more interesting, because the defense was kind of like something they can at least rest their hat on. But the first time in 75 games, they escaped a game without getting a sack.
Without getting a sack. But they're playing without everybody, basically, that rushes the passer. So
still, I mean,
amazing streak they had.
You got to be able to find a way to generate a pass rush, and they just weren't able to do that.
Agreed. Well, like I said, I expect that you'll be right about all that stuff, and that they'll look hideous in a national broadcast that almost every NFL fan will see on their television. But have seen this play before. I've seen this action before. Ben last year even played the worst game of his entire career, where like he could have retired at halftime against Cincinnati Bengals on Monday night, and it wouldn't have surprised anybody. And then he came back the next week with one of the best games he's ever played against the Colts. So anyway, last word for you, Jude.
That was my last word too. Just that streak coming to an end. That was a powerful streak for them.
That's a long time, man. It's what is it?
75 games. That's a lot of games. That's spanning it's going into 5 seasons. Like spanning 5 seasons that they've had a game in every game. Like that's amazing.
But how every game is incredible. Yeah, agreed.
Another, I guess is like maybe the Rams have made themselves the team to beat. They kind of put the beating on Tampa Bay last week.
Yep.
I'm surprised we didn't talk about that game actually, but just the last word. It looked like trading for Matthew Stafford really paid off. Like the connection he has with McVay and those receivers, Cooper Kupp out there, it's looking really good. And that defense is playing.
It's week 3. It's week 3. Let's find out. Let's see what happens.
Oh, you just beat the Super Bowl champions, and you made that defense that they have look like not so great of a defense.
Let me ask you. Here's my last word. If Tampa Bay plays the Rams in January, who's favored in that game?
Who's favored in that game?
In January in the playoffs, Tampa Bay plays the Los Angeles Rams with everybody healthy.
Who's got home field? I'm lying. It's going to be Tampa Bay. You're not betting against Tom Brady in those times at all. But
it's a nice win. It was a nice win.
But you have the team to compete and make that a game. Is all I'm saying. Favorites right now.
Nobody's going to remember September when December and January roll around. That's all.
It never happens like that.
But except for you, Jude. Even with your memory loss, I think you'll be able to remember.
I think it's going with my hair. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Where am I headed then? Bad. No, man. on that note. See you next week on Old School News for Football. Hey, join us.
Subscribe. Click the links below. We'll pound it out. Pause.
Press like.
See you guys.
We got to get the in sync. Come on. Here we go. Boom.
Boom. All right.
All right. Good job, bro.
All right, man.